Hello all, very good morning. In today's topic, we will discuss regarding the disease condition, rheumatic heart disease. So coming to the topic here, this rheumatic heart disease, if you see, it is one of the major health problem which is present in the world. And this rheumatic heart disease, it is occurring as a sequel to the rheumatic fever. It is occurring along with the, whenever the person is having the rheumatic fever, you can observe the rheumatic heart disease also. Coming to the incidence here, if you see the global incidence, so RHD means rheumatic heart disease, it was a global health problem, and according to the WHO 2011 reports, it was saying that about 15 million people were suffer from this rheumatic heart disease all around the world. And during the year 2008, it was reported that about 2,20,000 deaths were occurred due to the disease, rheumatic heart disease. And if you see, the major cause for this mitral valve stenosis and mitral valve insufficiency is mainly caused by this rheumatic heart disease. If you see, there was a fall in the incidence and prevalence and the mortality rate when it is compared to the developing and developed countries. If you see the developed countries, the rate of this RHD has been decreased, and if you see in developing countries, the rate has been in a stable manner. And if you see here, this decrease is mainly due to the improvement in the socio-economic conditions. So in spite of the modern treatment which is available, so the fall it had occurred based on the improvement in the socio-economic status as well as improvement in the modern treatment facilities which were available in the society. So both these factors has contributed in the developed countries to decrease the RHD rate. Coming to the India, so if you see India, about 6 children per 1,000 population were affected with this disease, RHD, rheumatic heart disease, and the age group is between 5 to 15 years. And if you see the reports, it was reported that about 1 million cases of this RHD were occurring in India. And this RHD, it was the rheumatic heart disease, it is the most common prevalent heart disease in India. And if you see the hospital admissions which were occurring due to the cardiovascular diseases, the most of the about 20% to 30% of the hospitals are getting admissions with the rheumatic heart disease. So coming to the epidemiological factors of this rheumatic heart disease. So what are the agent factors we'll discuss here. So if you see this rheumatic heart disease, it is occurring, as I said, it is occurring as a sequel of this rheumatic fever. So when the infected tonsils are turning, when it is mainly caused due to the infected tonsils and pharynx and adenoiditis. So there was an organism called as beta hemolytic streptococcus. So this is the organism which is responsible for the rheumatic heart disease. So mainly this rheumatic heart disease, it is occurring as the body, means as the tonsils or the pharynx or the adenoids, as they are getting infected, there are more chances of this organism to affect even the heart of the person and causing this rheumatic heart disease. And if you see this organism, this is a gram positive organism, it is non-motile and it is non-spore-forming. It is non-spore forming, and if you see the shape, it is having the spherical shaped bacilli, and if you see the diameter, it is about 0.μ to 1.5 mu in diameter, and it was arranged in chains here. And if you see, recently they have found out this Virax Coxsackie B4, it is suggested to be the causative organism for this rheumatic fever. So what is the reservoir of infection here? The reservoir of infection, as I said, it was streptococcal pharyngitis. When a person is affected with this streptococcal pharyngitis or adenitis or pharynx, so or tonsils are getting infected there. So all these factors are reasons, means they are acting as a reservoir for this infection, rheumatic heart disease. So what are the host factors? As I said, it was mainly occurring among the children, and the age group is about 5 to 15 years. And these children are treated as in high risk groups. These children are treated as a high risk groups. And if you see the sex here, both sexes are equally affected. The males are equally affected as well as the females are also equally affected. What are the predisposing factors here? The predisposing factors are mainly, as we have discussed in the earlier slide. So in developed countries, there was good socio-economic status and there was better treatment available. But if you come to the developing countries, so here poverty is present, low socio-economic status is there, poor housing is there, and proper illiteracy, no literacy rate was there, and ignorance was there, malnutrition is there, and large families are living together. So these are acting as a predisposing factors. And if you see, we have to improve the living standards. So whenever we are improving the living standards, automatically we can decrease the prevalence rate of the disease. Coming to the pathogenesis, so you can observe an Anscough nodule. It is the pathognomic sign of this. It was the pathogenic sign of this rheumatic heart fever. If you see here, it is nothing but this Anscough nodule. It is nothing but it is a perivascular collection of lymphocytes and plasma cells surrounding a fibronoid core. And in the heart, we can observe the mitral valvulitis. It was the most common lesion which is caused due to the fibrosis, and you can even observe the stenosis of the mitral valve. What is happening here in the rheumatic heart disease? It is mainly affecting the valves of the heart. It is mainly affecting the valves of the heart, and in those valves it was mainly causing effect to the mitral valve. So stenosis of the mitral valve, it causes the incompetence in the person. So what are the clinical features here? So the clinical features that we can observe are fever and polyarthritis. So if you see, there will be a low grade fever for at least 3 months. When the person has been affected for at least 3 months, he will experience a low grade fever. And if you see the polyarthritis, you can observe inflammation of joints, knees, elbows, wrists, and they will become more painful. They are becoming more painful here. You can see the ankles, you can see the knees, you can see even the wrist. I mean, all these are becoming painful. All these are becoming very painful, and this painful joint, they subside spontaneously within a week. When they occur, they subside spontaneously within a week, and the pain will be like migratory in nature. Means it subsides in one joint, and again it occurs in the another joint. For example, if it is currently starting in the wrist joint, afterwards after 1 week it will start to come in the knee joint. After that it will go to the elbow joint. From elbow it go to the shoulder. Likewise, all the joints are getting affected. So these are some of the clinical features of this disease, rheumatic heart disease. So next clinical site is carditis. So what is this carditis? Carditis means nothing but inflammation of the heart layers. So if you see here, nearly 60 to 70% of the cases heart is affected. A person who is having the rheumatic fever, when he is entering into the rheumatic heart disease stage, nearly 60 to 70% of the patients who are having this RHD their heart is getting affected. So pericardium, myocardium, and even the valves, pericardium, myocardium, and even the valves are getting involved here. You can observe tachycardia, you can observe the cardiomegaly, and sometimes you can observe the heart failure also. And it is mainly causing damage to the mitral valve. It is mainly causing permanent damage to the mitral valve, which is leading to the other related problems, other circulatory problems. What is this tachycardia? So the higher heart rate. And what is this cardiomegaly? Inflammation of the heart, means enlargement of the heart due to any kind of inflammation. So it is carditis. And you can observe the subcutaneous nodule. Subcutaneous nodule means nothing but, you can observe here in the image, these are round and firm and painless nodules which are present under the skin or the bony prominences. So you can observe where the bony prominences are there, where in the wrist joints, you can observe even at the elbow joints, and even you can even observe at the ankle joints here. And once they come, they disappear mainly after some time. So as I said here, so inflammation of the major joints is occurring and they are spontaneously subsiding. In the same way, these nodules are also coming and they are disappearing at some time. And this is called as erythema nodosum. What is it called? Appearance and disappearance of these subcutaneous nodules, it is called as erythema nodosum. Next thing is chorea. What is this chorea? Means we can observe jerky and purposeless movements in the arms and legs. So if you see the picture here, you can observe these type of jerky movements. These are purposeless and they will occur suddenly. So these movements, they will disappear gradually without any kind of damage to the body. So they will occur because of the infection which is present in the body, and they will disappear without causing any damage to the body. And you can observe the other sign. This one is erythema marganitum. So you can observe in the picture here, this was called as erythema marganitum. These are pink and non-puretic skin rashes which appear on the trunk, which is mainly appear on the trunk, and they are appearing on the extremities. So they appear on their own without causing any abnormality. Likewise, they disappear only. They come without causing any signs and symptoms, means they come, they appear, and also they disappear only after some time. Same like subcutaneous nodules, even like this cholera, and even like this polyarthritis. So what are the manifestations? We have major manifestations. As we have discussed, we are having major manifestations as carditis, inflammation of the cardiac layers, polyarthritis means joint pains we can observe, subcutaneous nodules we can observe, and cholera we can observe, and erythema marginatum we can observe. And coming to the minor manifestations, we have fever, we have polyarthralgia, and we have raised erythrocyte sedimentation rate or leukocyte. So whenever we are going, whenever we are doing the diagnostics like ESR, erythrocyte sedimentation rate, so this was one of the clinical diagnosis which was done in kind of any infection. Whenever a person is having not only this endocarditis, whenever he is or rheumatic heart disease, whenever he is having any kind of infection which is present in the body, you can observe a slight rise in the erythrocytic sedimentation rate, and even the WBC count is also increasing here. So these are some signs and symptoms. So if you see how to prevent and control the rheumatic heart disease and what is the role of nurses here. So first we have primary prevention. So in primary prevention, we'll go with the health promotion. What is this health promotion? Means you have to prevent the malnutrition in the children. And we have to improve the living condition and general sanitation of the disease as well as the environment. So whenever we are maintaining the environment, we can prevent the infection which is caused by the Streptococcus bacilli, so that the infection, the rheumatic heart fever can be prevented. So far the rheumatic heart disease also can be prevented if the rheumatic heart fever is prevented. Next thing is, so you have to do, means the houses must be as a nuclear family and overcrowding must be avoided, and health education to the people must be reported. And if they find any kind of sore throat, so it can be caused due to the beta hemolytic streptococcus. So this sore throat which is caused by the beta hemolytic streptococcus, it is capable of causing the rheumatic heart fever. So we need to maintain the oral hygiene, and we need to report to the hospital whenever you are having any kind of sore throat, and we have to go for proper diagnosis so that the rheumatic heart fever can be prevented, and so far the rheumatic heart diseases also can be prevented. And proper approach to the risk group like school age children, they must be approached in a proper manner. They must be screened properly to find out this streptococcus presence, and these children, they should be kept under strict surveillances to follow up to see whether any person is having this streptococcal pharyngitis. So if any person is complaining you regarding the sore throat, you have to go for the diagnostic test. You have to go for the culture by collecting this swab. Through collecting this swab method, you have to go for culture, and you have to find out whether this streptococcus organism is present or not. And if these children are found to have rheumatic means streptococcus positive, then they must be treated with a proper antibiotics. Coming to the next point, we can give the specific protection. So when you came to know that a child is suffering with the sore throat, you can treat her or him with the benzathine benzyl penicillin, and it was given as a single dose, that is given 1.2 million units in case of adults, and it is given intramuscularly, and if it is children, it was given as 6 lakh units. And if you see, if the person is unable to afford for this benzathine penicillin, if that IM injection is not available, then you can go for the oral penicillin also. And this oral penicillin, it was given like 10 days. So if a person is allergic to penicillin, then erythromycin is the drug of choice here. If a person is allergic to penicillin, you can give the erythromycin, and there is no vaccine available for the prevention of this rheumatic heart disease. So coming to the secondary prevention, so mainly if a person is affected with this rheumatic fever, so in the developing countries, we must focus on the prevention of rheumatic heart attacks, recurrent attacks of the fever. So you have to detect the cases by conducting the survey, and these people, they should be treated with the benzathine penicillin as we have seen in the previous slide with the same doses. So if you came to know that any child is having this disease, so these children, at least the treatment has to be continued for 5 years. So if a person is having this rheumatic fever, you have to focus on the recurrent attacks of the rheumatic fever, and you have to treat them. Proper survey must be done on them, and the treatment it is given at least for 5 years until the child is reaching the age of 18 years. Or if a person is more than 18 years, you can, even if it is coming in any person, so in spite of the age, we have to treat the person for at least 5 years. So the nurses, they can assist the school health survey mainly to detect the cases if they had rheumatic heart fever. So they have to administer the medication which was prescribed by the physician. So as a nurses, it is our role to mainly to administer the medication as it was prescribed by the physician or a doctor. And for the patients who are having this carditis, that is having mild mitral valve regurgitation, so the treatment it should be continued for at least 10 years. And you have to last check until the age of 25 years. So if a child is having mitral valve regurgitation, so that instead of 5 years you have to treat the child for another 10 years. So in case of RF, we are treating the child for 5 years until he is attaining the age 18 years. So in case of mitral valve regurgitation, in cases of carditis where it is present, you are treating the child for 10 years. So the last check will be at the age of 25 years. In sometimes it may be longer also. And more severe valvular disease, if the person is experiencing more severe valve disease, so if the mitral valve stenosis is occurring, if the carditis is present, and if the person has entered into the stage of RHD, then you have to treat the person for lifelong, not only for 5 years or not only for 10 years. The person has to take treatment for his entire life. And non-medical measures such as like prevention and control of this rheumatic heart fever, mainly by improving the living standards, improving the socio-economic conditions, so bringing the people out of the poverty. So all these things will help in the prevention of this disease RHD. What is this tertiary prevention? So mainly we can decrease the disability. So mainly the disability limitation here. So patients who had developed this rheumatic heart disease, so they can have the disability because of the presence of joint pains and the carditis. So it is mainly prevented by giving aspirin for the joint pains, and you have to treat this person. What is the drug of choice here? We are giving the aspirin mainly to prevent the joint pains, and we are giving treatment with the benzathine penicillin for the lifelong, so mainly to treat the carditis. And surgical intervention, it may be done in some cases, mainly during the mitral valve stenosis. So next thing what we can do is rehabilitation. So patients who are suffering with this rheumatic heart disease, they are given social and vocational and psychological rehabilitation. So for example, if you see here, if a person is having the mitral valve stenosis, so their capacity to do their physical activities will be decreased. So here these persons are rehabilitated to choose another kind of occupation, and so that they are engaged in the occupation where it is requiring the physical labor. So if a person is having any kind of this mitral valve stenosis, they cannot do hard work, right? So in those cases what we are doing, we are choosing them the alternative work field, so that their life can be led and their rehabilitation can be done. So this is rehabilitation. Thank you so much for watching. That's it for today. So we have so far discussed regarding the rheumatic heart disease. So if you understand, please like, share and subscribe the channel, and try to share it to your friends also. If you have any queries, you can drop them in the comment box, or you can WhatsApp me, or you can text me through the email. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching.